Take it.
Like the guy, Stan Kroenke security stuff.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That would be funny.
Four
I'm not gonna
four
start with
times
that,
from
but-
10:30 on.
4 times before halftime.
Yeah,
That's
the greatest
a growing,
ever.
That's a growing problem.
That
Yeah.
is a problem.
Yeah, I know. I'm
mentioned-
worried about
What
him.
would happen if you said, like, I'm crapping my pants and I need to get in there? Would they wall you off?
Yes.
They had you all
They
up,
were
yeah.
big boys.
Although in the fourth
You would have
quarter,
pooped in your pants.
in the fourth quarter,
I don't
Murph and you came out, so
Yeah.
you were actually in the.
So I'd
John.
seen him go to the bathroom
This- you
3
should-
times already
you
with
gotta
the
bring this up.
blockade.
Yeah.
It looks
And then
like
I-
the Secret Service.
And then
is
at the
what
end of the
that is.
game, they kick the field goal and it's tied. We're going to overtime. Okay, I need a break.
Yeah.
I run up and I run to the bathroom. And as I'm walking out, I see the guy wearing the plaid black and blue sweater or suit
Yeah.
jacket. And I said, I've seen that guy. Isn't that's the guy that was just getting walled, like
Yeah.
security detailing, keeping people out of the bathroom. Sure enough, I walk outside. There's 2 big, beefy armed guards standing there.
Now, what
But
I
you
don't
were-
get is like suites have their own bathrooms.
I know, and
I
people were
didn't know
saying
that.
there was a bathroom for the visiting owner that he wasn't using.
Oh, so he just wanted
You're
to be
kidding.
a man of the people and
I have no idea.
put the people
Man.
out of the
But
But he
bathroom.
doesn't
Let him
want.
throw the
But what
people
I
out
think
on
he
the
does,
street.
what he doesn't want the beat guys from St. Louis doing from the Post Dispatch is getting him alone in the bathroom and then starting to grill him on moving.
So
'Cause
here's the
doesn't
thing. Here's the
talk.
thing. He's probably been cornered in the bathroom before.
Yes,
Then. You wouldn't
and so
just
he's
come up
afraid.
with this
No.
if you hadn't been cornered in a bathroom.
No.
He's been cornered
And-
in the bathroom.
He looked also like the most stereotypical owner ever. I mean, he looked like if you were to cast a guy, okay, you own the team and you're about to move it and everyone hates your guts. Stan Kroenke looked like that guy. He had like the bad do, the bad hair, all that stuff.
And he went to the bathroom 12 times in the game.
I got a question for you guys. Was the hit on Teddy Bridgewater intentional to knock him out?
Wow. I don't think it was intentional. I think it was a situation, though, where the Rams wanted to inflict some punishment on him. And here's the thing. That was a hit on a sliding quarterback, and you can't use the defense of, well, he left his feet. That only works when a guy's diving forward, and so it wasn't surprising to me to see the Vikings kind of lash out the way they did.
Yeah, but that's my question. I mean, when you're Teddy Bridgewater,
Yeah.
and not exactly a guy who trucks people, by the way.
Not at all.
I've seen that defense too. I read a couple of players who said, well, sometimes quarterbacks will try to deke you, and then they'll lay the shoulder on you.
His best
But-
spin move is when he's off his feet, leaning back.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
what?
That's my question. Is he was
Because
clearly
Cutler
giving
did 2
himself
weeks
up
ago.
there.
What? Yeah.
But Judd, how did you view the hit? Because from my perspective, I mean, Bridgewater's giving himself up there. Turns out to be obviously game-changing, maybe season-changing for the Vikings. We don't know how much time Teddy Bridgewater's going to miss, but
Well, that's
leaves
a
the
key-
game with a concussion.
That's a key question. LaMarcus Joyner did his best in post-game to just try and spin this as, what? I played against him in high school in Miami. My dad knows his mom.
All we were missing was the violin in the
We were
background.
great friends. We used to get cookies together. But the thing about it, go back and watch
Cookies.
it. Go back and watch
missed
it.
that part.
Bridgewater's giving himself up and he's sliding, and Joyner, for lack of a better explanation, goes into almost a wrestling move. He does a spin move, brings his left shoulder all the way around, and manages to get Bridgewater in the head. And Bridgewater, I think, got knocked out for a second because
I mean,
his
it sure
head
looked
spiked
like it.
off the turf. But I told Krammer this before. The only other alternative, if he doesn't come in that high, is his head's going to go into Bridgewater's sternum, right? So he's going to
Yeah.
spear him. So the end result of that play by Joyner, at the very best, is irresponsible, and he's going to be fined a ton of money. I mean, this is what the league stands for, never having to watch Sean Hill play football.
Right.
You know, you now have
Shorts and Mankato, that's fine.
They don't guard quarterbacks because they care about them that much as people. They don't care if they get knocked out. They care about it because now the paying customer in Oakland next week might have to watch Sean Hill start. Nobody wants to see that. I don't think Sean Hill basically admitted, I don't want to see that.
He stopped
And
short of
it's-
saying
He
that.
came close.
And it's too early. Teddy Bridgewater's going through the concussion protocol, so there's no definitive word on whether or not he's going to miss some time. But
Yeah.
you're right. It's a situation where that's why the league has that in place. I just think though, when you look at these Rams, man, there were a few hits that you look back on it and went, okay, like that one on Bridgewater in the third quarter that was low.
That was
it was
low.
out of the pocket where William Hayes, the defensive end, just kind of comes at him. You just look at that
Kinda
sideways.
armbar
And what do you think Mike Zimmer was saying when he was kind of halfway onto the field when Teddy's laying on the ground there on that hit? I mean,
I can't
you
read
read
lips.
lips? Yeah.
there was M and an F.
But there was an M. I clearly saw the word. I think I saw you and mother.
He did say mother. I saw that one too.
And mother was clear as
He
day.
probably wasn't saying, "You guys knew each other's mothers. What are you doing?" It probably wasn't.
Your
that.
father. Oh, you know what? M and an F. Your father knew Teddy's mother. That's what it was.
What are you doing?
You didn't know. You don't know he wasn't saying that. The quick question, because well, first of all, an observation on Bridgewater is we did see him in the locker room after the game. He was like walking around and smiling, but to me, as never having been a doctor nor ever having played one on TV.
Wait, you're not a doctor?
No, not one. Not
Sports
certified
Sports
anyways.
talk, you're close enough. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about concussions, but to me that's a good sign. My point, though, that I was going to make is with concussions, you just don't know. There's not enough evidence to go off of, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But this reputation's kind of followed Gregg Williams around the league from New Orleans, and people seem to not have forgotten quote-unquote Bountygate.
Well, Mike Zimmer wasn't even part of that 09 Vikings team, obviously, and he's the one who automatically came up there and said, I think after the game, he was asked, was your quarterback targeted? And Mike Zimmer said, well, I don't know about that, but I do know there's a history with their defensive coordinator. I'll leave it at that.
Wow.
And so, I mean...
That's fairly direct for Zimmer.
But especially,
It's correct.
Exactly, yeah. There is that kind of history with Gregg Williams, and you got to wonder, but at the same time, I didn't see anything as malicious, even Joyner's hit. I didn't see anything as malicious as you would have seen in that 09 championship game.
The late hit the low hit on Bridgewater in the third quarter, though, was typical of what Gregg Williams' defense
dirtier
liked to
than
do.
Joyner's hit.
They love to go. I mean, Favre, look at that.
Yeah.
If you watch the 2009 NFC title game, what do you see a lot of? You see a lot of high-low hits. Yep. Exactly right. But if I'm not mistaken, the whole thing in that 2009, when that situation came to light and suspensions were handed out, Sean Payton was the patsy. Because Sean Payton's like, I didn't know about this, but the guy who they knew about this thing the whole time and in fact had encouraged it was Gregg Williams. So, I mean, he's the guy going back to that whole thing. So anytime something like this happens, it's going to be a big deal with him. Now, I will say this. He also comes from a day and age of football when you could go after the quarterback's knees and people didn't care as much. I mean, this has now become a huge deal.
Don't you have to evolve?
But there used to be you would like to think they do, but Derek, you're talking about football people.
But look at what Mike Zimmer's done, though. Don't you think Mike Zimmer would be the same way? He was a defensive backs coach. He was a defensive coordinator.
I think Zimmer's more into coaching football. I think Williams might be more into this is how we've always done it, and I'm going to continue to do it this way. And I think guys like Zimmer evolve because they love coaching. I think some guys just like to play football. Yeah. And playing football means if you got to hurt them, you hurt them.
Okay. Well, this isn't the first quarterback they've knocked out, right? Not to make it all about this, but to me, this is the number one thing you take out of the game, right? The fact that the Vikings come back, win in overtime by a field goal is a nice story for them. They're 6-2 in the NFC North after the Packers lose. They're tied for the division lead. That's great, but at the end of the day, the quarterback's the story. Not the first quarterback they've knocked out this season.
No, you saw him knock out Ben Roethlisberger. I think that's when he had his MCL injury a couple weeks ago and knocked him out for 4 weeks. Same thing with McCown in Cleveland. And so this is a situation where the Rams, it's following them around. And I talked to a few Vikings players after the game, and they just kind of looked at me like, basically they gave that look of like, you know what I want to say, but I'm not going to say it. Yeah. So here's a way I'm going to try and couch this by saying, look, they always do this kind of stuff. It's the Rams.
Do you agree? I got the definite sense, aside from a few guys who talked about it, I got the definite sense that Zimmer went in the locker room after that game and said, I will address this.
Probably.
Because Fusco addressed it, Khalil did, and they were pretty strong about it, but I asked a bunch of guys, and I got either no comments or I could see it both ways. I got a definite sense that Zimmer said, okay, guys, this was really, really cheap. I'll handle it, though. Don't you handle it.
And some of those old Vikings from the 09 team were some of the target guys, too. Like, the media went right at Chad Greenway, and somebody actually asked Greenway something about, well, was Williams' history playing on your mind at all? And Chad just stops mid-question and goes, you're not going to get me with that.
That's very
So I think you're absolutely right. I think Mike Zimmer, though, at his press conference, he addressed it right away, out of the gate. And he said, look, I thought we played hard, clean football from our side. And everything was a backhanded kind of way of saying, look at those cheap Rams, basically.
Maybe the Rams are just interested. They have a soft spot in their heart for backup quarterbacks, giving them.
Well, they had Sean Hill.
They did have Sean Hill.
Give Sean Hill a chance. Give Mike Vick a chance earlier this year. Maybe there's something to that. But they just feel like, okay, the starters get all the glory.
Boys, I'm going to go down a heartless path right now, and I'm going to ask you, Krammer, a pointed question. If Teddy Bridgewater can't play next Sunday, the Vikings are now 6-2, tied with the Packers for first place in the division, and they are now will be entering Game 5 of 5-game stretch in which we said They can go 5-0. The head coach said, shut up, and now they're 4-0. If they don't have Teddy Bridgewater next Sunday and they have Sean Hill, how big of a loss, and I think we'll all concede it's a loss, but how big of a loss would it be to have Sean Hill start a game on which you can argue that the focal point of the offense is 28?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Adrian Peterson's obviously still the focal point, but a reason why this offense is still able to go behind this offensive line is much because Teddy Bridgewater is a nimble quarterback. He's able to evade pressure. He's able to get out of the pocket. He's able to make the plays on the run, which is why he's getting hit at those times. Sean Hill's not that. Yeah. Sean Hill's not a guy that's going to be able to escape any pressure. He's going to be a sitting duck. He's going to be Peyton Manning without the supreme intellect behind, not to say that Sean Hill's not a smart guy, but he doesn't have that Peyton Manning kind of understanding of the game.
Are you saying he's not a Hall of Famer?
I'm saying he's not Peyton Manning, actually, and we might be able to put that up on the website.
Physically, he might be right now.
Noted. Noted.
But Sean Hill would give you immobility behind a shaky offensive line, and that's something you absolutely cannot have. So it would be a loss in that sense. Teddy's not necessarily lighting up the NFL. He wasn't lighting up the Rams when they knocked him out, but he gives them at least an ability to improvise, and Sean Hill does not have that. So that's why it would hurt them the most.
And also, boys, make no mistake, but Nick Foles sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can give Nick Foles the ball, I was
going to make that mistake.
If I can give Nick Foles the ball and say, you know what, I don't think you can win this game. I'm gonna roll the dice that he can't do.
You heard it here first. The home of Hollywood State.
Sean Hill is not Peyton Manning, and Nick Foles sucks.
But think about this league. People are paying good money and spending their entire Sundays watching a league that's allowing Nick Foles and Sean Hill to be in it.
As the NFL would say, that's a you problem.
I know. Let's just say that going into overtime, I was very uncomfortable. And I had to wait to take care of business because of Stan Kroenke. I hope you're happy. I don't care where you move your damn team. Just move out of my bathroom. Get away from stall 2, sir. Back up very slowly.